Hi, my name is Everett. Today I'm reading book number 29, A Big Day for Baseball. Play Ball, Jackie Robinson by Mary Pope Osborne, Magic Treehouse series, A Morgan Mission. Jack and Annie aren't great ball players yet. Then Morgan, the librarian, gives them magical caps that will make them experts. They just need to wear the caps to a special ball game. The Magic Treehouse whisks them back to Brooklyn, New York in 1947. When they arrive, Jack and Annie find out that they will be bat boys in the game, not players. What exactly does Morgan want them to learn? What's so special about this game? And who is number 42? They only have 9 innings to find out. Prologue. One summer day in Frog Creek, Pennsylvania, a mysterious treehouse appeared in the woods. It was filled with books. A boy named Jack and his sister Annie climbed into the treehouse and soon discovered it was magic. While they were gone, no time at all passed in Frog Creek. Jack and Annie eventually found out that the treehouse belonged to Morgan Le Fay, a magical librarian from the legendary realm of Camelot. Since then, they have traveled on many adventures in the magic treehouse and completed many missions for Morgan. Now Jack and Annie are about to find out what their next mission will be. Chapter 1, Fly Ball. The early Saturday morning air was damp and chilly. Jack sat on his front porch steps. His chin was cupped in his hands. Annie came out the front door. "Do you want Mom to take us to the rec center now?" she asked. It was the day for baseball tryouts. "I've decided not to go," said Jack. Annie sat down next to him. "What's wrong?" she asked. "I can't stop thinking about last season's tryouts," said Jack. "I fell down when I swung the bat. Everyone laughed." "Yeah, well, everybody laughed at me too," said Annie. "Remember, I threw the ball to the wrong team. So maybe neither of us should go," said Jack. "But our whole family loves baseball," said Annie. "We read about it, we watch it, we learn averages about it." Before Annie could finish, something dropped from the sky and rolled across the front yard. "What's that?" said Jack. He and Annie ran to the steps. A small white ball lay in the grass. Annie grabbed it. "It's a baseball," she said. "Where did it come from?" said Jack. He and Annie walked to the sidewalk and looked up and down the street. No one was there. "Maybe it's from another world," whispered Annie. Annie handed the ball to Jack. "That's crazy," said Jack. "What other world?" "Think about it," said Annie. "One second we're talking about baseball and how we don't want to do tryouts. Next thing, this drops from the sky." "Oh, you mean," said Jack. "Morgan!" Jack and Annie said together. Annie took off down the sidewalk. "Let's go," she called to Jack. "Hold on," Jack shouted. He put the mysterious ball into his pack and raced after Annie. Jack and Annie crossed the street and dashed into the Frog Creek woods. They hurried between the trees until they came to the tallest oak. The magic treehouse was back. "Yay, team!" said Annie. She grabbed the rope ladder and started up. Jack followed her into the treehouse. Leaf shadows danced on the wooden floor. 2 gray baseball caps sat in the dappled light. Next to the caps was a book, History of Baseball. A leather bookmark was sticking out from the pages. A Big Day for Baseball, History of Baseball. Jack picked up the book and opened it to the bookmark. The page showed a photograph of a baseball stadium. The caption beneath it read, "Ebbets Field, Brooklyn, New York, April 15th, 1947. "Ebbets Field," said Jack. "I've heard of that. It was a famous ballpark." "Look, there's a message in the note," said Annie. Jack held the bookmark up to the light. "It's Morgan's handwriting," he said. He read aloud. "'Twas a big day for baseball so many years ago. Journeyed to Ebbets Field to learn what you should know." "Learn what we should know," repeated Jack. "To become great players." "Sounds like it," said Annie. Morgan must have known about the trout. She read the next verse. "These caps are magic, made only for you, to give you the skill to know what to do." Oh man, it sounds like these caps will make us great players, said Jack. Yay, said Annie. She read on. As long as you wear them, all others will see the skillful people you're pretending to be. I get it. Everyone else will see us as great players, said Annie. In a Little League game, said Jack. Why not, said Annie. Little League games must have played at Ebbets Field too. Yeah, probably all kinds of games played there, said Jack. Annie read more. When you hear the final score, give the ball with the name to the one who knows best the rules of the game. Our ball has a name, said Jack. He pulled the ball out of his backpack and turned it over in his hands. No name here. Maybe we're supposed to give it one, said Annie. How about Bolly? Bolly, said Jack. I don't think so. Okay. How about Flyball, said Annie. It flew down to us. Fine, whatever, said Jack. He put Flyball back into his pack. Ready? Yes, this is going to be so much fun, said Annie. Jack pointed to the photo of Brooklyn, New York. I wish we could go there, he said. The wind started to blow. The treehouse started to spin. It spun faster and faster. Then everything was still. Absolutely still. Chapter 2, Opening Day. A spring breeze blew into the treehouse. The sky was cloudy. Hey, baseball uniforms, said Annie. Their clothes had magically changed. They were wearing baseball shoes, long socks, and baggy gray pants. Jack's backpack had turned into a leather bag. Look at that, said Annie. She pointed to the words Bat Boy stitched on their jerseys. Oh, so we're going to be great Bat Boys, said Jack with a frown. Not great players? Don't worry, said Annie. I'm sure Morgan thinks that being a great bat boy will help us become great players. But you can't be a bat boy, said Jack. And there was no such thing as being a bat boy back then. Bat girl back then. Don't worry, said Annie. If we wear these caps, everyone will see us what we're pretending to be. Remember? Oh, right, said Jack. Annie and Jack picked up their caps and put them on. Wow, said Annie with a big grin. Yeah, wow, said Jack. He felt a surge of excitement and confidence. I feel like I know everything about baseball. Me too, said Annie. I can't wait to get to Ebbets Field, said Jack. Let's go. He shoved the baseball book into his backpack. Then he led the way down the rope ladder. Jack and Annie stepped onto the ground. They landed in a small grove of trees nearby where were stone benches and a fountain. Children were playing on the grass and sidewalks. Looks like a city park, said Jack. Let's ask for directions, said Annie. As they headed toward their kids, a gust of wind blew through the park. Watch out, said Jack, grabbing his cap. He and Annie held onto their caps. We can't lose these, she said. No kidding, said Jack. They passed the men playing guitar and singing in Spanish. They passed some girls playing jacks. They passed a group of noisy kids shooting marbles. Hey, two bat boys, one of the kids shouted. The others looked up and waved to Jack and Annie. Annie smiled at Jack. See, they think I'm a boy, she said. Magic's working. Cool, said Jack with a grin. You look the same to me, though. And you look the same to me, said Annie. Maybe we always look the same to each other. Annie turned back to the kids playing marbles. Excuse me, how do we get to Ebbets Field, she said. That way, one of the bigger kids shouted. He pointed across the park. When you get to the street, it's a few blocks east. Better hurry, yelled a small girl. The game starts at 2:30. What time is it now, Jack called. One of the boys looked at his watch. It's 1:30, he shouted. Oh man, we're late, said Jack. We should have been there at 1 o'clock to start our chores. Run, fast, said Annie. She and Jack started across the park and held on to their caps. Bat boys, wait for us, someone shouted. Jack and Annie looked back. The two smallest kids from the marble game were scrambling after them. Jack thought the boy and girl looked about 6 years old. Sorry, we have to hurry, Jack yelled. But we can help you, said the girl. We know a shortcut. You do, said Annie. Yes, said the boy. We go to Ebbets Field a lot. This way. The small kids turned and started down a dirt path. Jack and Annie ran after them. What are your names? The girl called. Jack and Andy, Annie yelled back. What's yours? I'm Olive, said the girl. This is my twin brother Otis. Twins, cool, said Annie. It's a big day for baseball, said Otis. That's what we hear, said Jack. I wish we could be bat boys like you, said Otis. We know all the rules, said Olive. The twins led the way to a busy street at the edge of the park. Old-fashioned cars rattled down the board avenue. The huge cars had long rounded hoods and lots of shiny silver chrome. Alongside the cars, a trolley clattered over the tracks. Jack and Annie stood at the corner of the corner with the twins and waited for the light to change. Nearby, a newsstand was selling the Brooklyn Eagle. Jack read the headline. Opening day at Ebbets Field, Brooklyn Dodgers versus Boston Braves. Annie, look, he pointed at the newspaper. We'll be working for a big league game. Big league? Wow, said Annie. You didn't know that? Said Olive. I thought the Braves were from Atlanta, Annie said to Jack, and Dodgers from LA. Not in 1947, said Jack. You didn't know that? Asked Olive. Lights red. Let's go, Jack yelled. Hold hands, cried Olive. She grabbed Annie's hand and Otis grabbed Jack's hand. Watch out for the trolley. Jack and Annie ran with the twins across the avenue to the opposite corner. Good job, said Otis. Where now? Jack said breathlessly. We'll take you there, said Olive. Run! Thanks, said Jack. He liked the friendly kids. Jack and Annie held onto the caps as they ran against the wind. They followed the twins down the street, then another. Turn at the corner, said Olive. They all turned into a busy, crowded street. There, the twins said together. In front of them was the tall brick wall of a stadium. The words Ebbets Field curved around the wall. A huge crowd was headed inside. Yay, said Annie, panting. Thanks for showing us a shortcut, guys. We're not there yet. Come on, said Olive. It's a big day for baseball, said Otis again. A really big day. Chapter 3, Take Me Out to the Ball Game. The twins led Jack and Annie to the entrance of the stadium. They all joined the crowd streaming into a huge rounded lobby. The room had marble walls and a ceiling lamp made out of baseballs. A sign over the ticket window said, $1, general admission. Uh-oh, said Jack. He and Annie reached into their pockets of their uniforms. We don't have money, said Annie. We don't either, said Otis. But we don't need it because Bat Boys, a tall man in a uniform, rushed over to them. His badge read security guard. That's just, said Jack. You're late, said the guard. The manager of the visitor clubhouse has been looking all over for you. Get over there. Yes, sir, said Jack. He knew just what the guard meant. The visitors' clubhouse was the place in the stadium where the out-of-town team prepared for the game. Wait, can our two friends come watch us for free? Said Annie. They helped us. Of course not, said the guard. Everyone has to pay, unless you're part of the game. Come on, the guard headed to a turnstile. Sorry, we couldn't help you, said Jack to the twins. Don't worry, we always watch from Bedford Avenue, said Otis. We line the sidewalk and peek under a gate, Olive whispered. We can see most of center field from there, said Otis, and a little bit of left field. Hey, Bat Boys, the guard shouted. Gotta go, said Jack. Thanks a lot, said Annie. Thanks a million, said Jack. Jack and Annie hurried through the turnstile and followed the guard. Then they crossed a ramp and headed into the ballpark. You're working for the Braves, the guard said. I'll get the clubhouse manager. Wait here. And he walked away. Oh, man, Jack breathed as he and Annie looked around compared to the Little League ballpark at home. Ebbets Field was huge. Fans were filling the stands. A band was playing "Take Me Out to the Ball Game." The breezy air smelled of roasting peanuts, hot dogs, and grilling onions. On a field, umpires in dark suits were talking to each other. Around the baseball diamond, team members were playing catch. The men all wore jerseys with blue letters that spelled Dodgers. "Look at the Dodgers bat boy," said Annie. They're helping their team warm up. "Those boys look twice our age," said Jack. "I know," said Annie, "but our caps must make everyone see us as teenagers, too." "That's so incredible," said Jack, smiling. He loved looking older. He loved working for a big league game. He loved the sights, sounds, and smells of Ebbets Field. "The fans are really dressed up," said Annie. In the stands, the men and boys wore suits and hats, and the women and girls wore dresses, jackets, and white gloves. It was really different from Frog Creek. At the ballpark at home, grown-ups and kids wore jeans, t-shirts, and sweatpants. Jack noticed something else that was different from Frog Creek. Here, half of the stands were filling up with mostly white people, and the other half was filling up with mostly black people. At home, people of all colors sat together. Annie pointed to a black Dodgers player signing an autographed ball. "Who's he?" she said. Black fans were shouting and waving at him. Reporters were trying to interview him. A photographer was taking pictures. "I don't know, he must be a big star," said Jack. "Hey, Bat Boys, you're late," someone shouted. Jack and Annie whirled around. A short, wiry man was striding toward them. He must be the manager of the visitors' clubhouse, Jack thought. "You've only got 40 minutes, the man roared. "The Braves will be here any moment. Their trunks have just been delivered from the station." He pointed to the door of the clubhouse. "Go inside and get to work." "Yes, sir," said Jack and Annie together. Without another word, they hurried inside the visitors' clubhouse, and they got to work. Chapter 4, Good Job, Boys. Jack and Annie knew exactly what to do. Jack felt like he'd been a bat boy all his life. He hung his bag on a hook. Then he and Annie headed for the equipment trunk lined up near the door. They started with a trunk labeled uniforms. They opened the lid. They pulled out white jerseys and red letters that spelled Braves. Together, they swiftly hung up all the uniforms in a row of the lockers. They finished just as the Braves arrived. The men laughed and joked with each other as they spilled into the clubhouse. No one spoke to Jack and Annie, though. In fact, no one even looked at them. Jack and Annie paid no attention to the team either. Their magic caps helped them know the rules. Bat Boys never bother the players. They never get in their way. Jack opened an equipment trunk labeled cleats and helmets. He and Annie pulled out the baseball shoes and batting gear. They used rags to wipe everything off. They quickly lined up their shoes on a bench. Jack and Annie hurried to a trunk labeled bats. Together they pushed the trunk out of the visitors' clubhouse and toward the ball field. "Yikes! Look at the time," said Annie. She pointed at a large clock over the scoreboard. "We only have 25 minutes till the game starts, and still a lot to do. Full speed." They pushed the trunk over to the visitors' dugout under the stands. Then they raced against the clock. They flew through the rest of their tasks. They quickly unloaded bats from the trunk. He handed them to Annie. She placed them on the shelf of a bat rack inside the dugout. They rushed back to the visitors' clubhouse and unloaded another trunk. They pulled out a first aid kit, skin guards, and a catcher's mitt, and masks. boxes and boxes of chewing gum. They carried all these things to the Braves dugout. By now, the team Brooklyn Dodgers had left the field. The visiting Boston Braves had started their warm-up. The noise in the ballpark was deafening. The stands were full. "Hey, Bat Boy!" a girl yelled. "Get us an autograph ball!" a boy yelled. Jack looked up. Kids were shouting from the stands. "An autograph ball! Please! Please!" "Sorry, Danny," Jack shook his head. They both knew the rules. Bat boys never do favors for fans. Jack and Annie hurried back to the clubhouse. They unloaded towels from a trunk. They filled jugs of water from the sink. They packed baseballs into a canvas bag. They carried everything to the dugout and put it in all the right places. Uniforms, cleats, shin guards, masks, said Annie. Water, first aid kit, bats, towels, baseballs, chewing gum, said Jack. Anything else? Nope. We did it, said Annie, looking at the clock. It was 2:25. The game would start in 5 minutes. Good job, boys, said the clubhouse manager as he passed by. Thanks, said Annie. Jack and Annie quickly took their seats on the bench in the dugout. The Boston Braves players sat near them, looking tense. Some scowled and folded their arms. Others chewed chewing gum or tapped their feet. A voice came over the loudspeaker. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the national anthem. The crowd stood. The players stepped out of the dugout and placed the baseball caps over their hearts. Oh no, thought Jack. He and Annie couldn't take off their caps. If they did, everyone would see them as young kids and see Annie as a girl. Annie pulled Jack's arm. She pulled him back into a shadowy area inside the dugout. There, they placed only their hands on their hearts. Jack desperately hoped none of the players would turn around and notice them. A man sang the Star-Spangled Banner in a deep, rich voice. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming? Jack nervously kept his eyes on the flag flapping in the breeze. Hurry, hurry, he thought. Finally, the singer sang the last lines. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the Braves? The national anthem was over. The players all put their caps back on. Play ball! Roared an umpire at home plate. Whew! Jack said to Annie, and they stepped out from the dugout. Noise filled the park. Fans cheered, horns honked, bells clanged. See you, said Annie. Yep, said Jack. They both knew exactly what to do. Annie was in charge of bats. She ran to the bat circle. She knelt on the ground, ready to pick up bats the players dropped at home plate. Jack was in charge of baseballs. He hauled the canvas bag over to a stool near the edge of the diamond. He sat down. A strong breeze gusted from Ebbets Field. Jack pulled his cap down firmly on his head. Then he leaned forward to watch the game. His heart raced. Now the hard part begins. Chapter 5, Foul Ball. Jack kept an eagle eye on all the players. He watched the Dodgers take their positions on the field. He watched the Braves batter chew the bat and head to home plate. He watched the Dodgers pitcher wind up and throw. The Braves batter hit a hard ball. It landed outside the foul line. Foul ball, called the umpire. Jack jumped up and ran to get the ball. He tossed it smoothly to the umpire at home plate. Then he returned to his stool. Now and then the wind gusted through the park, but each time Jack grabbed his cap to make sure it stayed on. The pitcher pitched another ball. The batter swung. He missed. Strike! The pitcher pitched again. The batter hit a ground ball. He dropped his bat and ran to first base. The pitcher snatched up the ball and threw it to the first baseman. Caught it just before the batter reached the base. Out, called the first base umpire. The Dodgers fans cheered. The Braves fans booed. Andy picked up the player's bat and returned to the dugout. Jack darted to home plate and gave new baseballs to the umpire. As the game went on, Jack and Andy stayed in the center of the action, but they never got in anyone's way. Andy picked up bats that they dropped from and replaced them in the rack. Jack kept an eye on the baseballs. He counted the ones that went out into the stands. He raced after foul balls. He carried 3 balls to the umpire for every 3 lost. Fans cheered and booed. If the magicians in the stands didn't agree if an umpire's call, they played 3 blind mice. Finally, the Braves had 3 outs. It was time for the Dodgers to bat. Now their bat boys would look after the balls and bats. Jack and Andy headed to the clubhouse to get more water and towels for the team. "Hey kid," a Braves coach pointed at Jack. "Move down the line." Jack understood perfectly. Holding onto his cap, he jogged out to center field. Jack sat on a stool close to the stands. His job now was to retrieve ground balls outside the foul line. Within minutes, a foul rolled into the right field. Jack ran to grab it. He tossed it perfectly to the Dodgers bat boy. "Yes," Jack said to himself. He couldn't wait to throw again. He sat back on his stool, pressed his cap down on his head, and waited eagerly for more ground balls. But as the Dodgers kept batting, no more came to Jack's way. For the first time, he had a moment to think. Why did Morgan send us to this particular game? He wondered. Why did she call it a big day for baseball? Why did Otis call it a big day for baseball? So far, the game was pretty ordinary, he thought, even a little boring. Plus, how is being a great bat boy supposed to make him a great player? He had only thrown a couple of balls and he wouldn't get to bat at all. "Hey, bat boy," a kid called from the stands behind him. More souvenir seekers, Jack thought. "An autographed ball!" Another kid yelled. Jack ignored the kid shouting. He refused to look over his shoulder. "A Dodgers cap! A Braves cap! Your cap!" The bagging soon turned into heckling and booing. "Go home! Go back where you came from!" What do they mean, thought Jack. Can they tell him from Frog Creek? He tried to ignore all the shouts and booing. But the hecklers sounded different now. Their voices had grown harsh and mean. They sounded like grown-ups. "You don't belong here. Throw him out!" Jack started to get angry. This was more than just annoying. "Get out of here!" another heckler shouted. Jack couldn't help it. He whirled around and yelled, "You get out of here!" To his surprise, Jack saw that the hecklers weren't yelling at him or even looking at him. "Don't let him bat!" someone shouted. "Throw him out!" They were shouting at the Dodgers player who was up at bat. Many in the stands were cheering for him, but these few were yelling mean things at him. Why? Jack looked around. The batter was the black player he'd seen earlier. He seemed to be the only black player in the game. Is that why these fans are yelling? Jack wondered. The batter hit a ground ball to third base. The third baseman grabbed it. He threw it to first base. "Out!" shouted the umpire. "That's right! Throw him out!" a woman shrieked. Jack was stunned. He didn't understand. The player ignored the jeers and walked calmly into the dugout. He held his head high. Jack wished he could talk to the player. He wanted to say something kind and supportive, Suddenly, a new batter hit a ground ball to left field. It was outside the foul line. Foul! The umpire shouted. Jack ran to get the ball, but at the same time, a kid jumped over the stands. The kid ran to get the foul ball too. Jack got there first, but as he bent down to grab it, the wind blew his cap off. The other boy snatched Jack's cap from the grass and took off. Chapter 6. Go! Hey, shouted Jack, give that back! Jack had to get his cap, but first he had to get rid of the ball he was holding. A Dodgers bat boy at home plate held up his glove. Jack hurled the ball toward him, but his throw didn't go very far. It nearly hit the umpire at first base. The umpire yelled at Jack. So did some fans. Jack was in shock. He didn't know what to do. He looked around for the kid who had stolen his cap, but he was gone. The umpire shouted something to a security guard on the sideline. The guard started toward Jack. Jack began running along the outfield wall toward the dugout. He had to get Annie. They had to get out of the ballpark. Jack didn't see Annie in the Braves dugout, so he dashed inside the clubhouse. He grabbed his bag and threw it over his shoulder. Then he looked wildly around. No one was there. Annie, he shouted. Annie! What? She called back. Jack tore around the corner. He found Annie filling water jugs in the kitchen area. We have to go, Jack cried. Some kid stole my cap. A security guard is after me. Oh no, said Annie. The clubhouse door banged open. Annie rushed to Jack. She pulled off her cap and placed it on his head. Then she hid behind the door. The guard and the clubhouse manager came around the corner to the kitchen area. Hello, kid, said the guard, nodding at Jack. He was the same guard who had brought them to the ballpark. Hello, said Jack. Annie's cap made him feel calm and confident again. Did you see a young boy coming here? The guard asked. A young boy, said Jack. A skinny little guy wearing glasses, said the guard. He was trespassing on the field. No, sir, said Jack, shaking his head. I didn't see a skinny little boy. Okay, the guard turned to the clubhouse manager. Let's check outside. As they turned to go, the manager spied Annie behind the door. Hey, what are you doing in here, missy? He said. I'm a bat boy, said Annie. No, you're not. You're a little kid, said the manager. You can't be in here, shouted the guard. We'll lose our jobs. Wait, said Jack. He pulled off his magic cap and tossed it to Annie. She put it on and looked at the clubhouse manager and the guard. See, I'm a bat boy, she said. The clubhouse manager and the guard looked confused. They squinted at Annie. Oh, I see that now, said the manager, grumbled. Well, we better check outside. But as they turned to Jack, they gasped. Wait a minute, you're the little kid we're looking for. No, he's not, said Annie. He's a bat boy. She pulled off her cap and tried to put it on Jack's head. The guard snatched it away from her. I'll take that. I don't know what's going on here, said the manager, but you kids need to get out of here now. Can we take the water jugs to the guys first, said Annie. The team's thirsty. No, yelled the clubhouse manager and the guard together. March, said the guard. Jack and Annie headed for the door. Outside the clubhouse, the security guard pointed toward the exit. That way, he said. Jack kept his head down and walked with Annie. He hoped the two men followed. Jack hoped no one was watching. When he heard laughter, he was sure people were laughing at them. Hurry up, ordered the manager. Jack and Annie stepped from the open park onto a ramp. They walked ahead of the guard and the manager through a turnstile. Then they headed into a huge rounded lobby. Ticket sellers were gawked at them as they crossed the room. The guard and the manager led them out through one of the doors. Outside the street, Annie stopped and looked at the manager. Remember, sir? Keep going, the guard said. Remember you said good job, boys, said Annie. That was us. The manager ignored her. Go, he said. He pointed down the street. And don't ever come anywhere near the ballpark again. Never again. Chapter 7, Shortcut to a Good Place. As Jack and Annie started down the sidewalk, the wind picked up. But the wind didn't matter anymore, Jack thought. miserably. That wasn't fair, said Annie. We worked hard. Who cares, said Jack. He felt sick. A wonderful day had turned terrible. Morgan's plan was a big fail. They hadn't learned anything about being great players. We can't just leave now, said Annie. What about Morgan's rhyme? What about fly ball? We have to give fly ball away, and we can't do that until we hear the final score. Jack looked back. The security and the manager guard were still watching them. Well, we can't stay here, he said, or anywhere near here. Come on. They rounded the stadium at the corner of Sullivan Place and Bedford Avenue. At the moment, two kids were racing down Bedford. They bumped right into Jack and Annie. Oh, ow, oops, the kids cried, nearly falling down on the pavement. Oh, sorry, said Jack. Olive, Otis, cried Annie. I can't believe it, said Jack, crashing into you by accident. No accident, said Olive. We came looking for you. We saw you under the gate, said Otis. Jack changed before our eyes, said Olive. 1 minute he's tall, then the next he's short. 1 minute he can throw a ball, the next he can't. 1 minute Andy's a big girl, said Otis. The next she's a little girl. Not that little, said Annie. The twins laughed so hard they nearly fell down. Annie started laughing too. Then Jack joined in. He couldn't help it. What happened to you, said Olive. It's hard to explain, said Annie. Really hard, said Jack, still laughing. You changed like magic, said Otis. You're right, said Jack. Just leave it at that. What are you going to do, said Olive. I don't know, said Annie. We can't stay around Lovett's Field, but we need to hear the final score. Oh, we know a good place to hear the final score, Olive said as he looked at Otis. Don't we? We sure do, said Otis, as if he'd read the twins' mind. We promise you'll hear the final score, said Olive. Where, said Jack. You'll see, said Olive. Hold hands while we cross the avenue. She grabbed Jack's hand. Otis grabbed Annie's hand. Come on, girl, she said. You can call me Annie, said Annie. Come on, Annie, girl, she said Otis. The twins pulled Jack and Annie away from Lovett's Field, crossing the avenue. They all dodged the streetcar and jumped onto the sidewalk. That was risky, said Jack. That's how the Dodgers got their name, said Otis. Fans have to dodge streetcars to get to the ballpark. Really, said Jack. I didn't know that. So where are you taking us, asked Annie. To a good place to hear the final score, said Otis. We know a shortcut, said Olive. Of course you do, said Jack, grinning. The twins led Jack and Annie down a street with a fish pond and a bakery shop. They passed a candy store and headed into a maze of alleys. They ran under clotheslines strung between high buildings. Laundry flapped overhead in the spring breeze. They passed some girls playing hopscotch. Hi, Olive. Hi, Otis, the girls yelled. Next, they passed old men playing cards. Hi, Olive. Hi, Otis, the men called, waving. Finally, the twins led Jack and Annie through the alley and down a quiet block. They stopped in front of a small brick house. Here we are, said Otis. A granny house. The granny house, said Jack. This is where our grannies live, said Olive. 2 regular grannies and 1 great Annie, said Otis. Plus 2 great aunts, said Olive. Wow, you're so lucky, said Annie. You get to visit all of them at the same house. Mama says they spoil us, said Otis. They give us cookies and cakes. Best of all, they let us listen to the radio. Come in, said Olive. She opened the door and led Jack and Annie into the granny house. Chapter 8, Safe. The small house smelled of fresh-baked cookies and coffee. The loud sound of a radio came through a back room. The twins led Jack and Annie down a hallway and to the entrance of the kitchen. A large radio sat on the kitchen table. 4 women were sitting in their chairs, listening to the game. They were listening so closely they didn't seem to know that Jack and Annie and the twins had joined. Jack heard the roar of the crowds and the band playing on the radio. He heard the announcer say, "Fifth inning, the score, Brooklyn Dodgers 1, Boston Braves 1. Number 42 to the plate." "Come on, Jackie, we're with you," one of the women yelled. "Give us a homer, son," said another. Jack heard the sound of the ball crack. "Number 42 hits the ball," the announcer shouted. "Caller catches the fly out, throws to second base. Out!" "No!" the woman shouted. "Number 42 hit into a double play. 2 outs," the announcer said. The woman groaned. "Ugh. I hope they don't fire him," said one. Everyone kept listening intently. Jack heard "out and safe" from the radio. He heard the ball crack against the ball. The bat crack against the ball. He heard foul ball. He heard the band playing Three Blind Mice. Again, he wondered, why is this such a big day for baseball? Nothing important had happened during the game, but the woman in the kitchen seemed to hang on to the announcer's every word. "He's up again," one said. "Knock it out of the park, Jackie," said another. "Go, Jackie," said another. "Hush, hush," another said. The kitchen grew quiet. The women leaned forward. A couple of them whispered a prayer. "Bottom of the seventh," said. "Bottom of the seventh. The Brooklyn Dodgers are behind. Braves 3, Dodgers 2. And number 42 raises his bat high," said the announcer. "We're with you, sons," one of the women said. Jack heard the ball crack against the bat crack against the ball. Robinson bunts. "The ball rolls up the first baseline," said the announcer. "Stanky on third." The crowd roared. "And 42 to second base," the announcer said. "Razor up to bat. Bring our boy home," one of the women cried. Crack! "Razor hits the ball," the announcer said. "Stanky scores. Here comes 42. He rounds third base. He's headed for home. Yes, yes," the woman at the Ruben shouted. "Go, Jackie, go," one said, clapping her hands. "Safe," the announcer yelled. "Safe," the woman in the kitchen echoed. A couple of them burst into tears. Jack turned to Annie. He was so confused. "What's the big deal?" he whispered. "Jackie Robinson, number 42, scores," the announcer said. "Jackie Robinson," whispered Annie. "Oh man," said Jack. Of course, finally he understood. Jackie Robinson was the first black player allowed to play with white players in Major League Baseball. "It's official now," the announcer said. "Jackie Robinson has made history." The women all hugged each other and laughed. Others in olive jumped up and down cheering. For the first time, the women turned toward the doorway. They caught sight of Jack and Annie. They seemed surprised. "Hello," one of them said. "Who are you?" "Jack and Annie," said Annie. "Our new friends," said Otis. They were bat boys in the game today, at least for a while. "Until the magic wore off," said Olive. The woman looked puzzled. One of them gave Jack and Annie a big smile. "Goodness," she said. "You're the first white people to ever come in our house." "Really?" said Annie. "Really," said the woman. "Welcome." She pointed to a plate of chocolate chip cookies. "Would you like some cookies?" "Yes, thanks," said Annie. "Thank you," said Jack. He and Annie and the twins took a cookie. "Have as many as you want," said the woman. Then she and the others turned back to the radio. The Dodgers were in the lead now. Jack and Annie and the twins ate their delicious chewy cookies as they listened to the final innings. The radio announcer reported each play until finally he shouted, and there you have it. Ladies and gentlemen, final score, Brooklyn Dodgers 5, Boston Braves 3. Everyone in the kitchen clapped. The Dodgers have now won this one, said the announcer, and Jackie Robinson has finished his first major league game. Chapter 9, the oldest fan of all. After he heard the final score, Jack smiled. Okay, now we just need this. Now we know why this is a big day for baseball. Yep, said Annie, and now it's time to give the fly ball away. She pointed at the twins. Of course, he said. He turned to Olive and Otis. We have a special gift for you. He took the ball from his bag and held it out to the twins. No thanks, said Olive. You keep it. You deserve it more. We have lots of baseballs, said Otis. You do, said Annie. Sure, we grab them when they fly over the walls in the ballpark, said Otis. They're all in here, said Olive. Come on, come look. We'll show you. Jack and Annie followed the twins into a shadowy room off the hallway. Their room smelled of roses and lavender. Otis switched on a lamp, and a really old woman sat in a rocking chair. She seemed to be sleeping. See there, whispered Olive. She pointed to a basket filled with baseballs. We keep them in Granny Beck's room. No, they'll be safe with her, said Otis. Oh, said Jack. He and Annie glanced at the sleeping woman. She's our great-great-granny, whispered Olive. She's 101 years old, whispered Otis. She was born a slave. Do I hear some little children talking about me? The ancient-looking woman asked. She opened her eyes and smiled. Yes, Granny Beck, Otis said. Sorry we woke you. I was just resting my eyes, sweetheart, she said. Who's that with you? Our friends Jack and Annie, said Olive. They were bat boys at the Dodgers game today. Come closer, children, said the great-great-grandmother. Jack and Annie moved closer to the rocking chair. Did you see Jackie Robinson today? She asked in a whispery voice. Yes, ma'am, said Annie. Did the crowd cheer for him? She said. Yes, ma'am, said Jack. All of them? She asked. Jack felt he couldn't lie to her. No, ma'am. A few people didn't, he said. They yelled mean things. I'm sorry to hear that, she said. What did Jackie do? He ignored them, said Jack. He held his head high, said Annie, and he walked back to the dugout without saying a word. Of course he did. He kept his mind on the game, said the old woman. He kept his dignity. He rose above what's mean and low. That's a good way to describe it, thought Jack. He walked toward the good. She said. Always keep your eyes on the good, children, and always keep your self-respect. Yes, ma'am, said Jack. Jack, whispered Annie, look. She pointed at the baseball in Jack's hand. Writing was magically appearing on the white ball. The letters spelled Jackie Robinson. The twins stared at in amazement. You have a ball with Jackie Robinson's autograph, said Otis. The ball with the name, Annie said to Jack. Annie grinned and nodded. She took the ball from Jack and held it out to Granny Beck. This belongs to you, she said. She placed the ball in the old woman's hand. Thank you, said Granny Beck. She looked at the autograph ball. I must be his oldest fan. Jack remembered the last three lines of the message from Morgan. Give the ball with the name to the one who knows best the rules of the game. You know the rules of the game, said Jack softly. Yes, I do, she said. The old woman wrapped her wrinkled hands around the baseball. Then she closed her eyes again. Olive motioned to Jack and Annie. They followed her and Otis out of the hallway. Annie smiled at the twins. Your great-great-granny is, well, great. They all laughed. I'm afraid we have to leave now, said Jack. Thank you for coming, said Olive. Wait, I have a question, said Annie. Why are we the first white people to ever visit your house? Olive shrugged. I guess you're the first ones who ever wanted to. That's so weird, said Annie. Not really, Annie, said Jack. There was a lot of racism in the 1940s. What, said Otis? You mean is? Yeah, is, Jack said softly. But Jackie Robinson's starting to change things, said Otis. That's true, said Jack. Well, thank you for everything. You two really helped us today. You sure did, said Annie. And now can you tell us how to get back to the park? Easy, said Otis. He led them out of the door. Go to the corner, turn left, and go about 6 blocks. Great, thanks, said Annie. Bye, said Annie. Bye, said the twins. Jack and Annie ran to the corner and turned left. In the brisk air, they walked quickly up a busy street until they came to the city park. They headed to the open area where they'd first met the twins. The big kids shooting marbles were gone. The girls playing jacks were gone. The man singing in Spanish was gone too. Jack and Annie kept walking until they came to the small grove of trees. They found the rope ladder and hurried up. Inside the treehouse, Annie grabbed the Pennsylvania book. She found a picture of Frog Creek Woods. Ready? She asked Jack. Knock it out of the park, said Jack. Annie laughed, then pointed to the picture of Frog Creek and said, I wish we could go there, she said. The wind started to blow, the trail started to spin. It spun faster and faster. Then everything was still, absolutely still. Chapter 10, Home Run. Leaves rustled in the woods. Shadowies danced on the floor of the treehouse. No time at all passed in Frog Creek. We're back, said Jack with a smile. He and Annie were wearing their own clothes again. I wish Otis and Olive lived in Frog Creek, said Annie. Me too, said Jack. They really knew how to get around, said Jack. They knew all the shortcuts. Yeah, Grandpa says in his time, kids did a lot by themselves, said Jack. It's different now. Unless you have a magic treehouse, said Annie. Jack laughed. Can you believe we just saw Jackie Robinson play at Ebbets Field? He said, let's look him up, said Annie. Jack reached into his backpack and pulled out history of baseball. Funny, our whole trip we'd never thought to read about baseball, said Annie. That's because we were too busy living it, said Jack. He found the page of Jackie Robinson. He read aloud. Jackie Robinson was the first American to play Major League Baseball in America. He played his first game with the Brooklyn Dodgers at Ebbets Field in Brooklyn, New York on April 15th, 1947. A big day for baseball, said Annie. A really big day, said Jack. He kept reading. In 1747, Robinson was voted Rookie of the Year. In 1955, he was a World Series champion. What's Rookie of the Year? Asked Annie. The best player. The best new player, said Jack. He read on. Jackie Robinson was not just a great baseball player. He also showed heroic strength in the face of romanticism. I'm not concerned with your liking or disliking me, he once said. All I ask is that you respect me as a human being. His talent and courage helps inspire the civil rights movements. That's so cool, whispered Jack. He closed the book and took a deep breath. Well, we'd better get going. We have a lot to do. We do, said Annie. Yep, Jack pulled on his backpack and then he followed Annie down the rope ladder. A gentle breeze blew as they started through the woods. Sunlight streamed between the trees. You said we have a lot to do, said Annie. Like what? Like go to the baseball park and try out for the baseball team, said Jack. Seriously, you changed your mind, said Annie. Sure, said Jack. Why not? I thought you were afraid kids might laugh at you, said Annie. I can live with that, said Jack. You? Sure, said Annie. We just need to try our best, said Jack. And keep our self-respect, said Annie. Yeah, if we don't make the team, we can sign up to be a bat boy or a bat girl, said Jack. Or a manager, said Annie. Or use Mom's phone to take photos of the game, said Jack. Hey, what about making videos, said Annie. That'd be fun, said Jack. So fun, said Annie. You know, Morgan didn't send us to Brooklyn to become great baseball players, said Jack. I know, said Annie. She sent us there to learn how to be brave and keep going. Yep, the rules of the game, said Jack. They stepped out of the woods and hurried up into the sunlit street. Better hurry, said Annie. Home run, said Jack. Jack and Annie took off through the bright sunlight, running for home.